Today we're going to be talking about drip campaigns. Real quick overview for our ToutApp for those of you that aren't familiar with us. We were founded in 2011. We're based in San Francisco, and our mission is to help salespeople be faster, better, and stronger. We've got a 5-star rating on the App Exchange, the Google App. For those of you that don't know about Tout, it is something that plugs into your Gmail, your Outlook, your Salesforce, and helps you manage your overall sales communications process. If you want to learn more, just go over to ToutApp.com, and there are tons of details there, and you can also reach out to a happiness officer to get a demo. But today we're going to be talking about a simple method that I call the 5x5. And the 5x5 is something we developed internally here at ToutApp to help salespeople maintain and scale their relationships as they're dealing with their leads, their contacts, their customers, and their VIP. So first of all, when someone says campaigns, marketers step up. In fact, even salespeople are like, oh, campaigns, yeah, I think marketing does that. Marketers love campaigns. Whereas when it comes to sales, we've been too analog for campaigns. We don't really think in terms of what are the 5 to 10 different interactions we need to have with the customer to convince them to join. We think a little bit more about what's the next step. A lead is a lead is a lead. And what we try to think about is how is sales changing, and how can sales use a lot of the things that marketing has been using forever to actually be better at their job. If you think about marketers first, they've always thought in terms of campaigns. And what that means is they've always thought about it takes multiple touches to create a customer. They use multiple channels. So they did TV, they did radio, they did print. And they do a lot on segmentation and personalization. They know that a certain type of customer likes a certain type of image, and they try to personalize it accordingly. Now, what's interesting is with sales, it's been very different. Sales has always been about one-to-one human communication, knocking on doors, down to dollars. Traditional sales has been very much about one person. How do I focus on that one person and get that lead and actually close the deal? But as you all know, the reason you're here is because you recognize that sales is changing, and we're close to being in the cutting edge of sales, and that's what we talk about in these sessions. And so as sales and marketing has evolved, there's been some new challenges on the sales side that has forced us to start thinking about more tools, more campaigns, more ways to actually scale how we work. So there's some big challenges we find when we talk to inside salespeople. First of all, there's less in-person contact. Meaning, as sales is moving inside, you're not out there shaking hands. You're actually doing go-to meetings. You're talking on the phone. You're sending emails. You're sharing presentations. So there's less in-person contact. And because marketing has gotten so good at generating leads, and because we're so great about increasing the volume of customers each salesperson can deal with, there's an increased volume of leads and opportunities. Each salesperson is just dealing with surely a larger amount of leads and opportunities and people, and they need to be able to stay on top of it. And let's be honest, your simple Gmail client or your Outlook client or even Salesforce is not good enough to help you do that successfully. And so the other thing that we've seen in terms of inside sales challenges, especially in growing organizations, most B2B SaaS companies that are growing aggressively are on our platform already. And the biggest thing we hire is we just can't hire bodies fast enough. We can't hire more salespeople fast enough, and we can't figure out a way how to train them fast enough, and we need to figure out how to actually do that faster, better, and more effectively. And so when it comes down to increased volume, it means that you've got more inbound leads, you've got more SDR-generated opportunities, and then there's this whole part of the business that you've never had to worry about, recurring business. How do you retain those customers, add more seats, upsell them? You have to figure that stuff out too. And for sales management, they have to figure out how to teach all of these things as they add more people. So it comes down to this big question of how do you scale? How do you actually make each salesperson more productive and help them deal with more people, not drop the ball, not let something fall through the cracks, and make sure that each of them are closing as much business as possible at scale? So first, let's talk about how not to do it. How not to do it. You don't want to just add body. One of the sales tips that I love using is you can go over to this website called Glassdoor.com. And when you go to Glassdoor.com, it has employee reviews on some of the most successful and fastest growing businesses. Now, you can go into those reviews, they're employee written reviews, and they tell you about what the culture's like, what management's like, how things are going. And one of the most interesting things is for fast scaling companies that are just adding bodies, a ton of reviews come in about how culture is going down and how it just wasn't the same and how management doesn't really care about the individual people. So what you don't want to do is just add bodies and think about it that way. You really want to add successful salespeople and make each of them as productive as possible. Another way you don't want to do it is you don't want to do it manually. When it comes to a salesperson dealing with 100 leads on a daily basis or a weekly basis or a monthly basis, whichever stage your business is at, what you don't want to be doing is forcing them to do it manually, using something like, oh, I'm just going to create a task for each of these 100 people and follow up accordingly. You don't want to do that manually. It's just going to be a complete mess, and you're not going to get the consistency and the cadence that your customers deserve. And most importantly, this is something we teach all the time, you don't want to do it by gut. When it comes to dealing with 100 people, you don't want to do it where, oh, I haven't reached out to this person in a while for my lead list. Let me see what they're up to. Give them a call. Seems like that's the next step. You don't want to do it by gut either. And that's how, those are the things that we faced as we grew our business. And that's how we came up with the 5x5. And the core concept around the 5x5 is how can salespeople become mini marketers? And as we started to think about that, we started to develop an idea that with salespeople, as you're dealing with whether it's an inbound lead or an SDR-generated opportunity or even a customer that you want to nurture, you really know what set of touches you need to do. And you already know that it's going to take a certain number of touches, it's going to take a certain number of conversations, and you know you're going to have to do those, but right now you do them all manually. And so we developed a way to actually follow it where salespeople could maintain a consistent cadence of communication with each of our customers and each of our leads, and that way they could scale the number of people that they're talking to on a daily basis. And they could add value, and they could touch upon multiple channels, and they have a playbook on how to actually keep moving a deal forward without having to reevaluate the situation for every single lead. And if you really think about it, marketers have been doing this forever. So today, if you look at a modern salesperson, a salesperson that's at the top of their game, they already know, hey, to win a deal, I'm going to have these 5 conversations. I'm going to have to touch base at these key inflection points during a trial. I'm going to have to make sure that I stay on top of it and I don't drop the ball on any one of them. And I can't just email them. It's going to be this complicated dance of sending a few emails, touching base with them on LinkedIn, following them on Twitter, and calling at the right point. And when you really break it down, salespeople are running campaigns. And they're running campaigns through multiple channels, and they're doing it at scale, at least the most successful people. And what the 5x5 is about is taking that idea and actually making it so simple that it's not just for the best of the best salespeople. You can actually make it a core part of your training process, and you can make every single rep productive with it. So the 5x5 campaign is 5 pre-planned templates, and it's sent 5 days or 5 weeks or 5 months apart, depending on what you're using it for. And it makes sure that you touch a certain lead or contact or a customer at scale. And you can also use it for multiple channels. You can be prescriptive about it. You can say the first of the 5 pre-planned templates is an email, the second is a LinkedIn message, the third is a tweet, or you can make them all email. It's completely up to you. So as we've developed this method internally, we've used the 5x5 for a couple of different things. We've used it for prospecting and sales development. We've used it for handling newly assigned leads. We've used it for nurturing during the deal process when you're working on a deal. We've used it on a post-sale follow-up. So once we've gotten a customer, we still want to maintain a relationship. So we create a 5x5 and touch them every 5 months or every 5 weeks. And we've also used it for driving renewals to make sure that we get that repeat business going by maintaining the relationship that we work so hard for. And we've thought about it in a way where you have to run the campaign and you have to design the 5x5 so that it is about the customer. and it's not about your sales process. Traditionally, when people originally started to use drip campaigns on our platform, they would say, oh, great, I'm going to send them an email saying, hey, do you want to chat? Send them another email 3 days later, hey, you never got back to me, do you want to chat? And a third email saying, hey, do you want to chat now? And a fourth email saying, how about now? And it sucks. And it's the worst thing ever. And so what we've started to do is actually say, hey, think about what your customer actually cares about. Let's think about how you can deliver value and build value. And structure your campaigns, your 5x5, so that you're building that relationship and leading up to the ask, which is, hey, do you want to chat? And so the way we always say to do these strategic touches is to say, first, introduce yourself. Very simple. Why are you reaching out to them? And say, like, hey, I'm your AE or I'm your happiness officer, just touching base, here to help. You'll be hearing from me later on. I don't want to bug you. Just enjoy the product. Number 2, provide value. Give them something. Don't ask for anything. Number 3, offer your time and help for something they care about. Number 4, engage for feedback. Ask them, hey, what do you think? What's important to you? What are your thoughts on the product so far? And then finally, go into the ask. Actually go in and say, do you want a meeting? Or if you want them to pay, then go into the ask. But hopefully by that time, you've delivered enough value and given enough goodwill where they're willing to engage with you. So what I wanted to talk about next is actually showing you an actual 5x5 method we put in place. And it's around Spreadsheet CRM. There was a question around time between touches. The reason we call it the 5x5 is we say 5 touches, and it can be, depending on what you're using it for, it can be 5 days, 5 weeks, or 5 months. It's up to you. For example, if you're trying to retain a customer and just nurture a relationship, it can be 5 weeks apart. Every 5 weeks, you just touch base and see how things are going. If it's around managing a trial process, it's every 5 days, so that you can actually touch base and add value every 5 days. It really just depends on you. And lastly, if you get a meeting in between the 5, how do you stop it? That's really easy to do in ToutApp. You can go into the Scheduled Emails tab, and you'll be able to do that. I'm going to switch back to the concrete example and start showing you how an actual 5x5 drip campaign comes together. Let's jump into that. All right, so 5x5. I'm going to show you what an actual 5x5 campaign looks like for us. And this is a real example. We actually used it, and it's related not to our core product, because that starts to get into our secret sauce on how we sell, but this is more about one of our growth hacks that we've done. So one of the things we do at ToutApp is we always think about what's an easy thing that we can do to solve customer problems that will get us the next 1,000 customers. And one of the things we realized is even though sales teams and salespeople of all levels of experience have a CRM and use a CRM, a lot of them still keep a spreadsheet to keep track of their own deals. Don't ask me why. They just love doing it. It's their list. They own it. They structure it their way. And so one of the things we did is we created this domain called spreadsheetcrm.com, and we created a sample spreadsheet of how you can track your leads. We connected it to Tout so that you can get live data into that spreadsheet on when you last emailed them. And we put it together so that anyone searching for anything related to spreadsheets and CRM would get this and sign up. And it turned out to be a fantastic lead gen opportunity for us. So even today, we get anywhere from 20 to 50 leads a day, people signing up for Spreadsheet CRM with their title, with their company, the size of their sales team, everything. And they get the benefit of the spreadsheet. Now, it essentially gave us an interesting challenge. Now, here we are. It's a growth hack that we've done. It's not our core product, but it's generating leads. And these leads are loosely our target audience. They're salespeople. They should be using ToutApp. And we don't want to put a whole bunch of resources onto Spreadsheet CRM leads. But, we really want to know if there are gems in there and they should be coming onto our platform. And so the thing that we did is we put together a 5x5 drip, and we put it together so that salespeople could manage the leads that are coming in through Spreadsheet CRM, and in a very scalable way, figure out who might be interested on the ToutApp offering from the spreadsheet offering. And so here is an actual 5x5 drip that we've put together. And these are the templates that we used inside of ToutApp. We built the templates right in ToutApp and set up the drip campaign. And if you think about it, the first one is a getting started. It just says, hey, sign up for Spreadsheet CRM, congrats, here's how you get started. We did another one saying, hey, here's the follow-up number 1. Here's how you write kick-ass sales emails. You're in sales, I'm going to teach you how to do that. Follow-up number 2, hey, I did a webinar on how to manage your sales inbox. Check it out. Follow-up number 3, hey, what do you think about Spreadsheet CRM? What are your thoughts on it? What kind of challenges are you facing right now in your sales process that made you resort to a spreadsheet to track this stuff? And then finally it says, hey, I've been talking to you for a little while. I just wanted to talk to you about Tout. And I wanted to show you how you can make your sales emails more successful using tracking. And if you break it down, it matches up perfectly with the 5-by-5. It actually shows you how you're introducing yourself, providing value, engaging for feedback, and then finally going in for the ask. How does it look? You can see that the emails that go off, this is the kick-ass sales emails, the second one in the grid. It gets amazing, amazing engagement. Nearly 40% open on it, 17% of the people are clicking, and the successful thing is the percent of people that actually look at the email, check out the ebook, and then end up signing up for ToutApp, which is also amazing. And what you're able to see is not only are people engaging with the emails, people are also replying and saying and engaging with you and saying, hey, this is great, but I want to talk about X. That's one of the secrets. That's one of the really awesome things about the 5-by-5 drip. You basically set up your campaign not assuming anything about the sales process. Because everything is so much about providing value and engaging and asking for feedback, it's relevant regardless of where this person is in the sales process. They could be very close to buying. They could be having trouble with the product. But you're sending them relevant content, and that way they can reply back and give you clues about where they are in the buying process. A lot of times when we get replies on a 5-by-5, it's not, sometimes they're like, hey, thanks for the content, love it. Obviously, a certain percentage is going to come and say, stop emailing me, not interested. And there's a really great way to unsubscribe from ToutApp emails. But more often than not, they'll actually reply and say, hey, this is great, appreciate it. By the way, really interested in X. I want to learn more about that. So can you tell me more about that? And that's been really, really, really an amazing part of the 5-by-5 process because it gives the customer an easy way to reply back to you and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. So this is a great slide. So obviously, this is ToutApp related. All of the 5-by-5, you can run it manually. You can teach it manually, but you can also use ToutApp's platform to do it. Our platform actually helps you configure these templates, set up the follow-up in an automatic fashion, and give you tracking in real time. So as a sales rep, as ToutApp sends off these emails on the sales rep's behalf, they have complete control on the messaging. They can tweak the messaging, change the messaging, and they're able to see in our live feed exactly what's happening. So there's a question that came up around, do you actually call the person during the 5-by-5? Absolutely. So one of the things we have as a part of our platform is this is the live feed to the right. And it'll tell you in real time when someone views the email, when they open up any content you shared with them, what page of the content they're on, and if they're going on your website. And in the live feed, you can actually click on their name, and there's a call button. And that's one of the things we always encourage people to do. Do it in a non-creepy way, obviously, but this person is obviously incredibly engaged. And so what a smart thing to do is when they're incredibly engaged, follow up with a phone call and say, hey, I saw you really liked the content. Just wanted to touch base and see if you had any questions around it. Or you can just be completely open and say, hey, just wanted to follow up on that email. What do you think? The key here is you're calling them when they're really, really engaged. And that's what makes a world of difference. And that's what makes a big difference also. Like if you look at this drip campaign over here, it's all about providing value to the customer. And that's not how most salespeople operate. Most salespeople operate in the way of, I'm going through my leads, and now happens to be the time that I need to call them, so I'm going to call them. Now's a good time for me to call the lead. Whereas with the tracking and with the 5-by-5, you're constantly providing value, and you're calling them when it's a good time for them, when they're already engaging with your content. And that makes a huge difference. So to recap, you can use the 5-by-5 for prospecting and sales development. You can use it for handling newly assigned leads, for nurturing during the deal process, post-sales follow-ups, driving renewals, and I'm sure there's 5 other unique and really creative cases you can use it for that I hadn't even thought of, and I'd love to know how you use it and what you use it for. So Colin asked, what is the number next to the template? So that number represents, so let me just jump into the product here a little bit and I can show you. The number represents the number of times that template has been used. So the beauty of ToutApp when you actually set up a 5x5 drip in ToutApp is you get a ton of analytics on what's happening. So the number will show you how many are being sent out, and you can actually click into the template and get all kinds of stats and analytics. So if we do last 12 months, you can see how many emails were sent, what the engagement looks like, what the success looks like, what the volume looks like. You can coordinate with the team and share your thoughts around the template. You can run A/B tests by cloning the template. It's all streamlined for you in here. It's quite powerful. But I just want to say you don't have to use ToutApp for it. You don't have to automate it. The idea is to first just create this campaign of 5x5 that you can use to reach out to your customers with a consistent cadence. Another question from Johan. When you get a response, will that automatically change the drip? We don't automatically turn it off. We give you control over it so you can choose. Some people run drips that are relevant in the sales process regardless of the response you get. And some people run drips that are hyper-targeted. So our SDRs run drips that are around getting a response. Once they get a response, they'll turn it off. Salespeople do not. So it really depends on what you're doing. But we give you sufficient control around it. All right, let's keep moving. So best practices. We've been doing this for a while. We're talking about it now because we think it's a really great resource and really great methodology, and we want to share it with our customer base. And so we've picked up a few best practices along the way. Number 1, automate when possible. If you can automate these 5 touches over a 5-day period or a 5-month period, do it, because that's how you'll get a ton of scale. If it's too early, don't worry about the automation part. There's a number of different benefits to the 5x5. Automation is one, scale is another. But it also drives consistency across the sales process. It drives a consistent cadence. And so if you experiment with different things and figure out what works really well, then you can double down on it and automate it. But before then, you don't have to. Second, personalize as much as possible. ToutApp lets you pull in personalized data into these drip emails automatically from Salesforce or any other data source, whether it's first name, company name, region, competitive companies you already work with. Use that stuff because that will make your emails more valuable. Number 3, use engagement data to drive next steps. We already touched upon this a little bit, but if you track these emails, if these emails are going out and you track the engagement in real time, whether they're viewing it or clicking on it, and you take that as a next step where, hey, they looked at it and they clicked on it, I'm going to call them right now. If you can do that, then your sales reps are going to be 10x more productive and they're going to accelerate the whole sales process. And lastly, you need to constantly iterate and test new messaging. Don't get lazy, and I'll cover this a little bit more. But you want to make sure that you constantly are looking at new and improved ways of writing your messaging and testing it to see if it's getting better engagement. And part of this is a little bit marketing-y. It is a campaign, but it's for the sales process. And whether it's just you as a salesperson doing it, or whether it's you doing it for your whole team, or whether it's you pulling in your whole team and developing the 5x5 together and sharing it with everyone, you need to create a culture of experimenting and tracking, and that way you can get to really great content. And the best part of this is, once you do get to that, what I call that golden 5x5, the golden 5x5 where you've iterated enough times and now it's just rocking, you can use that and that will pay dividends for the next 50 reps that you hire. And that's going to be really, really powerful. A few more best practices. Personalization is a big thing. You just got to personalize. And so using LinkedIn to research is really important. And I included this in here because I found that for 50% of the population, it's a no-brainer. They're like, oh, yeah, of course I use LinkedIn. But for 50%, it's not. So you can find out so much interesting information on LinkedIn about the company you're trying to target or trying to deal with. And if you can bake that into your 5x5, you're going to be that much better for it. 2, I touched upon this already a little bit. check Glassdoor for employee reviews. Glassdoor.com will give you a unique perspective of what the culture is like in the company, what kind of challenges employees are dealing with, what kind of management shifts are going on. Really interesting stuff. And if you can use that in your sales process, you're going to be better off for it. Number 3, check Indeed for jobs and hiring. A lot of the tricks to the 5x5 is to add reasons to reach out and consistently provide value. If you go into Indeed.com and you see, oh, they're hiring for salespeople or they're hiring for this particular role, you figure out a way to like, hey, I saw that you're hiring. I found that I got my job through this site, and there are a lot of great candidates in there. Go check it out. You're providing value. You're touching base, consistent cadence, and they're going to love you for it. You're more likely to close the deal at that point. So really get your hands dirty and really get personalized. And honestly, this is the thing that really sets apart the marketers from the salespeople. Marketing is a lot about aggregates. Marketing thinks about who are the 1,000 people that are coming in through my site and what percentage of them filled out this form or click this button. Sales is a hands-on sport. You get your hands dirty in sales. And to you, a lead is a lead is a lead. And if you can use these tools to really make an impression across those 5 touches for each of those leads, then you're going to win and you're going to close more deals. And that's something that's very crucial to understand. So you will start thinking a little bit more like a mini marketer by thinking about these campaigns. You will think about multiple touches, multiple channels, but you can't forget that you're a salesperson. The thing that differentiates you is you know how each person is very unique, and your job is to figure out how to impress upon them that you're the right resource and the right partner for the job. So personalization is key for being a successful salesperson. And finally, the last thing, I say read their blog. A company's blog is a window into their soul. They write about everything they care about. They write about their priorities, their goals, their aspirations, the things that they're proud of. You can learn a ton from a company's blog. So read that and pick up clues on how you can align yourself with the goals around the company, and you can win as well. So to summarize this a little bit, with the 5x5 method, each of your reps can scale. Each of your reps can deal with more leads, more opportunities, manage more customers. You can also, with the 5x5 method, drive consistency in your messaging. You can make sure that your salespeople have a playbook on what to say, when to say, and how to say it. And that's really powerful. And with the 5x5 method, each of your reps can deal with more people, use our tracking data to prioritize the right people, and because of that, accelerate your overall sales process and get the deal done faster. That's really powerful as well. And if there's one message that I want to leave you with, is campaigns are a powerful thing, and automation is a powerful thing. But don't get lazy. You're in sales. Your job is not to just automate this and automate all the touches. Your job is to put yourself in a way and put yourself in a system that helps you deal with more people at scale. But that personalization should never go away in a 5x5 grip. You need to make sure you're consistently providing value in a really personalized way. The 5x5 is designed to help you do it faster and give you a framework on how to think about reaching out to these people and getting a deal done.